presence of the entire PCOO family composed of PCOO proper, Bureau of Broadcast Service, Bureau of Communication Services, National Printing Office, News and Information Bureau, Philippine Information Agency, Presidential Broadcast Staff, and the People's Television Network Incorporated. Do you have a presentation, Mr. Secretary?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor.
Do you have a presentation, sir?
Yes, sir.
You may proceed at magandang hapon po.
Magandang hapon po. Before I present our proposed 2015 budget, allow me to introduce the officials of the Presidential Communications Operations Office who are with me today. Beside me is the Undersecretary for Legislative Policy and Legal Affairs, and concurrently acting Undersecretary for Finance and Administration, Jesu. On my right is the Undersecretary for Operations, John Kochua, Assistant Secretary Saldi De Loyola, Assistant Secretary for Special Concerns, Celso Santiago, Assistant Secretary Virgilio Nadal, who is also the Executive Director of the Presidential Broadcast Staff, RTBM. With us today also are the heads of our bureaus and attached agencies, Director Tito Cruz of the Bureau of Broadcast Services, Radyo ng Bayan, Director John Manalili of the Bureau of Communication Services, Director Emmanuel Andaya of the National Printing Office, Director Danilo Hamora of the News and Information Bureau, General Manager Cleo Dongaas of the People's Television Network Incorporated, President and CEO Lito Cruz of IBC 13, General Manager Jaime Aldaba of the APO Production Unit, and Chairman Joey Abellana of IBC 13. We are now ready to present our 2015 proposed budget, which is a performance-informed budget that strengthens the link between planning and budgeting. It will show the link between funds allocated and the projected results and outcomes. Executive Order Number 4, Series of 2010, created our office, giving it the mandate to serve as the premier arm of the executive branch in engaging and involving the citizenry and the mass media in order to enrich the quality of public discourse on all matters of governance and build a national consensus thereon. We are driven by the vision that our office is an arm of government for enhancing understanding among a well-informed and enlightened citizenry, proud of their heritage and attuned to global realities. Our officials and employees work towards that goal of being able to give our people the information they need to make the right choices in their lives, be it economic, political, or personal. Our key result area is anti-corruption, or transparent, accountable, and participatory governance, and the sectoral outcome is public information dissemination and enhanced citizens' access to developmental information and participation in governance. These are marked by the following organizational outcomes: public access, engagement, and understanding of presidential policies and government programs achieved, and responsive and self-sustaining printing operations achieved. This administration is driven by President Aquino's social contract with the Filipino people that is anchored on 5 pillars, namely good governance, poverty reduction, inclusive growth, integrity of environment, and peace and rule of law. Our office, through its bureaus and agencies, committed to deliver media operation services, and this is being delivered by PCOO proper, NIB, and RTBM, public broadcasting and developmental communication services by the Bureau of Broadcast Services, Radyo ng Bayan, communication development and production services by the Bureau of Communication Services, national printing services by the NPO and the APO Production Unit, development communication services, PIA, and television network operations services, People's Television. To enable us to deliver on our commitments in 2015, our office is proposing a 1.022 billion peso budget distributed as follows: PCOO proper 196.8 million, BBS 284.8 million, BCS 34 million, NPO 6,000, NIB 104.6 million, PIA 271.2 million, RTVM or the Presidential Broadcast Staff 130.2 million. Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, our proposed budget for 2015 reflects an overall decrease of 159 million or 13.47%. With the exception of the Bureau of Broadcast Services, our bureaus and agencies do not have a capital outlay allotment for 2015. For 2015, the lion's share of our department budget will go to our two offices that maintain a nationwide presence, namely Bureau of Broadcast Services, Radyo ng Bayan, 28%, and Philippine Information Agency, 26%. PCOO proper gets 19% of the budget, while Presidential Broadcast Staff, RTBM, gets 13%. NIB 10%, BCS 3%, and National Printing Office 1%. As earlier mentioned, the BBS is the only bureau under PCOO which has a provision for capital outlay representing procurement of motor vehicles. The decrease in budget for the PCOO by allotment class shows a 15.57% decrease in personnel services, which is the net result of the following: filling up of unfilled plantilla positions and corollary increase in the salaries account and the associated personal services accounts, reduction in manpower complement as a result of retirement and transfer to other government agencies, and decrease of almost 100% in the personal services of National Printing Office. Let me explain briefly, Mr. Chairman. The National Printing Office is given what we may describe as a token allocation of 6,000 pesos for personal services pursuant to its corresponding special provisions, and this is mentioned in Section 3 in the 2015 National Expenditure Program, or NEP. In the previous years, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, the National Printing Office has established its capability to generate enough cash resources from its own operations to finance the payment of personal salaries and other miscellaneous and operating expenses. And that is why the Department of Budget and Management deemed it to be more in keeping with efficiency to just allocate a minimal amount in the National Expenditure Program, because anyway the cash resources to be required by NPO will be internally generated instead of having to place amounts in the budget that will have to be processed in accordance with the usual protocols. Maintenance and other operating expenses, or MOOE, for 2015 reflects a minimal increase of 1.4%. Furthermore, the MOOE for the National Printing Office again was reduced in accordance with what I have just explained, and the capital outlay of 12.6 million reflects the procurement of motor vehicles by the Bureau of Broadcast Services. So we have in this slide before us now the allocation of our budget with respect to personal services, which is 50%, MOOE 49%, and capital outlay 1%. Looking at the budget by expenditure program, we can see that operations gets the most sizable portion of the budget at 803.1 million, and general administrative services gets 218.7 million. Looking at the budget by major final output, we can see that media operations services is allotted 327 million, public broadcasting and development communication services 217.1 million, communication and development services gets 15.7 million, national printing services gets 5,000, and development communication services 208.4 million. That, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, is the budget of the Presidential Communications Operations Office that's being proposed for 2015, and I'm now ready to answer your questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Maraming salamat po. Ilang katanungan lang po. Magkano ang kinita ng NPO noong 2012?
May I refer the question to Director Emmanuel Andaya, Mr. Chairman.
And I will be comparing it with 2013, given that 2013 is an election year and 2012 is not.
In 2000, good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
In 2012, our income is to 156 million, thereabouts.
156.
Yes.
In 2013,
169 million.
income? Kala ko pumapalo kayo ng 1 billion.
Revenue po yun, sir.
Revenue. Yes. Revenue for 2012.
Around 650 and 700 million.
Noong Pulitzer. Para tabi kayo. Bigyan na ng ito.
Director Nagrampas, our finance officer.
Yeah, I know. 2012, it's how much? Total revenues from operations?
In 2012, Your Honor, we have a revenue of about 650 million.
650. 2013,
Excluding the COMELEC,
all in.
all in, Your Honor, about 1.6 billion.
1.6 outside of COMELEC, magkano?
It's about 720.
2011, do you have the figure?
I don't have the figure, Your Honor. I
First 6 months of 2014,
For 2014, Your Honor, our total revenue is around 460 million.
as of today,
As of June,
416.
60.
460. Magkano po ang budget operating expenses ninyo? All in, PS, MOE, dahil magkano ang binibigyan sa NPO? 6,000 ba? 6 million?
6,000 lang po. Yun po yung token amount that was proposed by DBM. Your
Magkano?
Honor.
Our yearly budget for MOE and PS, Your Honor, is around 160 million.
I remember 168. if I'm not
168,
mistaken.
170. Those are the figures, Your Honor.
Zero CO. Walang capital outlay.
No capital outlay before.
So, are you confident that you can generate the necessary revenue to fund, at the very least, PS at MOE nyo?
If we go by historical performance, Your Honor,
Yes.
2011, 2012, and 2013, we have surpluses of more than around an average of about 12 to 15 million annually.
Lang?
Surplus.
Lang?
Net income. Surplus net income.
So, sa revenue nyo na 650, napupunta ba sa inyo to? Hindi.
Hindi po, Your Honor.
So, is this the first time giving the revolving fund policy that you will be given the chance to retain your income?
This year, Your Honor, we were given seed capital of half of our last year's budget.
I know.
84
Tapos kayo na
million.
bahala sa remainder half of the year from your income, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor. And we are confident that we will be able to generate enough for the budget requirement.
Now, my question is it my understanding that under the proposed scheme in the special provisions, nasa inyo na lahat ng revenue nyo? Hindi nyo nasasoli sa gobyerno?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you stand to earn, if projections are correct, approximately 460, about 800 a year?
Yes, Your Honor. We project to have an increase this year over the historical performance in the last 2-3 years, Your Honor.
Gross revenues ba to?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is the net income of the NPO per year?
The budget that we submit to DBM plus about 10 to 15 million at that range, Your Honor.
So it's roughly 168 plus 10 to 15 million.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tama po?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you're talking about 180, 185
Yes, sir.
million. Ang net income nyo?
Yes, sir. That's the amount that we normally generate over the year and deposit to the National Treasury.
So wala pa rin kayong provision for capital outlay kung ganito lang ang pupunta sa inyo?
Yes, Your Honor, but we believe that the surplus can be used for capital outlay. The previous years when we deposited to National Treasury, DBM did not allow us to use those surpluses, even if
ngayon
we
pwede na.
requested. This is the advantage of this year's budget, that we are now allowed a leeway to use our surplus.
Now, Yusek, why 6,000? Why not 5? Why not 4? Why not 3? Magpapakyut din lang naman kayo, but 6,000 pa?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This was the amount proposed by DBM, Your Honor.
Why
not
didn't
us.
you... Wasn't your curiosity piqued? I mean, why 6? And why was no amount placed in MOE? It's all in PS, right?
Yes, it's all in PS, Your Honor.
If you read the Supreme Court decision on DAP, augmentation of an item is by allotment class, meaning
Yes.
to say, if you do not put an amount in the allotment class of either MOE or CO, you cannot augment that. I think the theory behind the 6,000 amount is that in case of fire, right, it can be augmented through savings.
Yes, Your Honor.
But without an allotment for MOE or CO, you cannot do that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may make
Sir.
a point. During the hearing of the House of Representatives Committee on Appropriations, it was pointed out by some members thereof that we may need to review the special provision pertaining to the National Printing Office, precisely because of the concern you have just expressed. And we said we will defer to the best judgment of the committees of the House and the Senate, and we would like to propose an appropriate provision that will cover this concern, Your Honor.
My next query and concern is still on NPO. I'll address it, I guess, to Secretary Coloma or USECU. Nabasa niyo po yung ibang mga provision sa budget. May mga pinagkukunan din naman yung mga ibang ahensya. May mga self-generating revenues na pinagkukunan sila. Ang ginawa ng DBM doon, nilagay yung amount, pero sinabi na doon kukunin sa source na yon. Why can we not do that too in the special provision? For example, wordings to the effect that the amount of 170 million sourced from the revenue generated by the MPO from its operations shall be appropriated as provided herein for the maintenance and other operating expenses and PS of the NPO. Any excess shall form part of the revolving fund, which can be utilized by the NPO either to augment its MOE or for CO. Ang habol ko lang, I read the letters of some of the employees from NPO and para lang makatulog ba sila sa gabi na hindi 6,000 yung nakalagay sa budget. Na total naman, ang suma total nun, pareho lang naman eh. Diba? I mean, it's the same. Would you be amenable?
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, sang-ayon po kami sa inyong binanggit at gagawin po namin ang nararapat. We will make the necessary representations with DBM and with the committees of Congress regarding this matter.
Please, sir. Thank you. One last point on NPO. Exclusive printer kayo ng ano? Meron pa ho bang naiwan o wala na kayong exclusivity?
Your Honor, we have a mandate in Executive Order 285 for exclusivity. It was amended by another executive order
Na hindi na kayo exclusive.
that we are no longer exclusive, but NPO went to the Supreme Court, and it was harmonized later on by Memorandum Circular 180,
Which now says,
that
proceed, sir.
the exclusivity, while not so much exclusive, is still there.
Pakiulit nga uli nung
Because
parang hindi ko na-gets yun.
there are also other printers that are now present, government printers, and
Like what else?
well, APO and BSP, Your Honor.
BSP.
Bangko Central Security Printing, Your Honor.
Hindi ba kino-contract out din nila yan?
I'm not familiar with the operations of Bangko Central, Your Honor.
So, hindi ba natin pwedeng gawing tatlo kung sino pinakamura? Meaning one of the three.
Currently, Your Honor, there are 3 government printers, APO, NPO, and BSP.
Is there a provision of law that says you have priority or first crack or exclusivity? The three,
None, Your Honor, except for the ballot, wherein the exclusivity is only among NPO and BSP, but BSP does not meddle with the ballot. So,
Except for the ballots, are you competitive in your prices?
yes, Your Honor.
May I ask the same of Apple? Sir, is Apple competitive?
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Hi, sir.
I believe so, sir. Yes.
When you say I believe so, you're comparable to the private sector? No.
We have taken contracts on open bidding, yes, sir, and we won over private contractors.
Is the same true with NPO?
Yes, Your Honor, except that there's a little inefficiency for. We have made a study that we are really overstaffed. So when we price our products, we consider the labor component, especially the direct labor.
So you're not
It's a
as
little bit
competitive.
high compared to industry.
Kung competitive sana kayo, I can bat for and push for exclusivity in certain printing jobs, but if you're not, how can I favor a government? Yes, Secretary Calama.
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, with regard to price competitiveness, there is a GPPB, Government Procurement Board resolution, stating that the prices or the rates that are assessed by the recognized government printers, namely NPO, APO, and BSP, would have to be competitive with those offered by the private sector. So whenever there are government agencies that would have printing jobs and they're able to secure more competitive or lower prices, they're given permission by the GPPB. But let me point out an important fact, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor. In the current proposed national expenditure program, there is no provision at all on the recognized government printers. And this is why I would like to manifest to the committee here and now that I wrote a letter to the Secretary of Budget and Management calling attention for the need to reinstate the previous provision in the NEP, because this would be essential to the continued viability of NPO and upper production unit, Mr. Chairman.
Have you written the committee, Secretary?
We will formally write the committee as well as the House committee, Your Honor.
Please do so. I have every reason to adopt the same provision as found in the previous GA, but kindly so write us, sir. So, no doubt, that you can pay for your employees' salaries and pay for your MOE?
We are confident, Your Honor, that we can meet it.
Iba yung confidence and no doubt. No doubt?
No doubt, Your Honor.
No doubt. Thank you. Now, another query, Mr. Secretary, if I may. This is on IBC 13. I know we've discussed this on the phone, but at least for the record, we can have the responses. IBC 13 will be privatized.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Meaning, it's a question of when, not if.
If I may give you an update, Mr. Chairman, we have already started the process of privatization. IBC, as I have been informed, has already engaged the services of a privatization process manager, which is the Development Bank of the Philippines, and this is as proposed by the GCG. So the process of privatizing IBC is already ongoing, Mr. Chairman.
What is the rough timetable, Mr. Secretary? Para ho, hindi naman parang mga pusang hindi maihi yung mga mabibenepisyon o tatamaan man ng privatization na ito.
Ang patakaran po ng Pangulo ay iisa lamang ang dapat na manatiling government television network. Kaya ang ating pong time frame ay dapat ma-accomplish po ito sa loob ng termino ng ating Pangulo.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Secretary. Now, what about the status of the JV agreement with R2? I understand this is under litigation. Is it still under litigation? O na-resolve na yung kaso?
Ang status po, Mr. Chairman, ay under arbitration po at hindi po under litigation. Yung pong arbitration, we have initiated and the other party has agreed to an arbitration because according to the provisions of the contract, that is the mode of resolving disputes in the interpretation of the contract. And we have followed the guidance of the Office of the Government Corporate Council to resolve noted items in the contract that will have to undergo the process of arbitration. So that is where it is at, Mr. Chairman.
Kamusta naman yung arbitration? Is it getting any... Are you gaining any headway? Is it getting anywhere?
Undersecretary, you will give the
Please,
update,
Yusek,
Mr.
you.
Chairman.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. We have initiated discussions with the R2 builders regarding the provision on arbitration.
When was this?
This was started early this year, Your Honor, but we have not yet initiated the actual arbitral process. We have entered into discussions with R2 and we have informed the Office of the Government Corporate Council regarding this matter.
Refresh my memory. If there is no case, then what is the reason to even arbitrate?
Your Honor, please. Under the JVA, there is a provision regarding arbitration for the resolution of dispute. So parties cannot go to court.
I agree. What's the dispute about? If I remember correctly, someone filed a case.
I think it's a different party, Your Honor.
I don't
not
know. But
involving-
someone filed a case, right?
I think so, yeah.
Questioning the JVA.
Question.
Either before the courts or the ombudsman.
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, we are not aware of any case filed in court against our management regarding the JVA. What we are
against
aware,
R2.
no, there is litigation initiated by other parties against R2, but not involving the
As the
government
losing
or
bidder
IBC.
or ano yan?
I am not aware of the details, Your Honor, but the action is against R2 itself and does not involve IBC, Your Honor.
Yusek, are you familiar?
No, Your Honor.
Kung walang
Just-
problema, why are you arbitrating even with them?
It's with respect, Your Honor, please, regarding the delay in the payment by R2. There are certain provisions, monetary considerations in the JVA, which R2 has not complied with as of today, Mr. Chairman.
And theoretically, dun manggagaling dapat, di ba? Yung ibang operating expenses ng IBC as of now until it is finally privatized.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Would that be correct?
Yes, Your Honor. That's correct.
Can you ask someone, Yusek, to find out what that case is all about? Because my understanding is that's principally the reason why R2 is a bit gun-shy in shelling out certain monies given the existing case filed against them.
Okay, yes, Your Honor. We will get the necessary details and submit
Please
the
and
required
inform us,
report.
sir. Now,
Thank you, Your Honor.
in the meantime, Secretary, that it's not yet privatized. Again, I just want to formalize what we discussed on the phone in the interest of transparency. Habang hindi pa napaprivatize, IBC 13 is in limbo. Meaning, sabi ng GCG, ganito, sabi naman ng gobyerno, private na yan. Is it possible for us, to your mind, to appropriate funds similar to, for example, the subsidy given to PTV4 by way of assistance to ano yun? No. Ano yung item sa yes, to GOCCs. Subsidy to GOCCs. Funds that would update them, again, as we discussed, on certain unpaid contributions to SSS, to PhilHealth. I'll do this one by one later, but conceptually, would that be possible, sir?
Mr. Chairman, malaking tulong po yan and most welcome po yung proposal na yan para sa IBC.
Let me confirm po the figures if I am correct. Unpaid contributions and loans from May to July 2014, which includes SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig. Who can answer, sir?
Mr. Chairman, we have here the President and CEO, Mr. Lito Cruz.
Yes. Is the figure accurate, sir? 2.643 million or 41.88?
That's right, Mr. Chairman.
Projected current contributions, August to December 2014, 4,462,790.65.
That's accurate, Mr. Chairman.
What does compromise SSS mean?
We had, when we took over, the new board took over, they had a loan of, may utang silang around 23 million.
Sino po yun sila?
IBC, the old management, sir, Mr. Chairman. And then, so to date, we have paid around 17 million. So ang utang namin na lang is, we owe them 3,697,457.60. So out of the 20-something million, we were able to pay around 17 million already. So since we took over 2 years ago.
Ano po yung terms of payment?
How much are we paying monthly? No, in monthly. 460,000 a month, Your Honor.
So when should this be fully paid?
So this is the copy of the
By June, but already we have made another proposal.
By June of this year?
Yes.
So how did you refinance it?
What happened is that they're willing to go into a barter agreement with us. We will not be paying the 3 million, so they'll just use the airtime with us. And they have technically agreed. We're just waiting
So,
for information.
Technically, pwede ko po itong tanggalin.
Yes, Your
Barter na
Honor.
kamo.
Yes, sir.
Yung PhilHealth compromise po, what does this mean?
Similar to the Social Security payable in 5 years, but we have to.
Yeah, this is the we owe so far. When we took over, we owed
just the 13 junior golfers plus
More than 3 million, sir.
more than 3 million. We were able to pay that.
plus officials from the Junior Golf Foundation of the Philippines.
Okay. Out of the 6.5 outstanding obligations, we've trimmed that down to 1.7 million, Mr. Chairman.
Ano po yung terms of payment?
That's a monthly payment of
Ms. Hazel, bali wala na po.
150,000.
Kailan po dapat matapos yung payment?
Just
Uh,
Mr.
This is
Tapos, if you want, for the parents and the friends, if you want to
2015. 2015.
2015 pa po?
Yes.
na yun,
Walang barter dito?
We are trying to go to the same process, Mr. Chairman.
What's the status, sir?
It's still ongoing. The negotiations are ongoing, Mr. Chairman.
Now, I spoke with the head of MTRCB earlier. Itong MTRCB na babayaran na 3.6, 1.5, kindly check with them. My understanding is, since you're government too, it's not in their books. It will only be in their books once you become private, if at all. You do become private. So this is not even affecting their FS.
Yes.
So,
we suggest
mulat-mula ba, nagbayad po ba kayo dito? O hindi
Yes,
talaga?
we have paid them actually, Mr. Chairman.
Really?
Wala po kaming utang sa kanila. We don't owe them anything. Except that we talked to the chairman, there might be a way that we can go into a parang similar barter agreement with them on a monthly basis.
Out of curiosity, is PTV4 paying MTRCB?
Yeah, if you'll
So,
allow
minus din yung 1.5 ko
to take a picture,
at 3.6.
pilitin natin. Pero kung hindi po natin
2,
kakayanin,
6,
let's assign
7,
a designated photographer siguro.
8.7. You're talking roughly 19.5?
So kasi po ang mga parents,
That's true, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Cruz?
mga parents na
If I remove compromise, sinama ko pa nga yung PhilHealth
you're
eh.
facing the
Compromise, SSS, MTRCB, you're talking about 19.5?
siguro if
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Roughly, give or take a few thousands.
photographer for everyone, like siguro
That's going to be sufficient
for
It will mean a lot to
for this
PBC.
purpose.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. That will mean a lot to
It's
men and
principally
women
for
of
the
IBC.
employees to be able to get their benefits.
Yes.
To be able to borrow and for them to be able to get their benefits.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Paki-compute kung magkano exacto.
pag nag-photo ops na, kung nag-break na siya,
Gusto mo ibawas ko sa ito, Secretary, o sa iba na lang babawas ko?
if we can agree,
Kung maaari po, huwag na pong ibawas sa amin.
We'll source it.
from the foundation,
We'll source it.
siguro yun, pwede natin.
This is for 2015. If the privatization is not yet done by that time, I guess we have to talk about this again.
Yes.
But this would be sufficient for 2015. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yung, ano eh, yung floor. So, maano
This covers all the regular and permanent employees.
for designated.
Sir, itong amount na binigay nyo?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
4 plus 1 na official from the foundation.
This will cover everything,
Pwede
Mr.
natin
Chairman.
i-work out.
Lahat po na empleyado?
So, bigyan nyo na lang lahat yung mga...
We will appropriate and allocate accordingly amounts in relation to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
A few more points on PTV4, Mr. Secretary. On PTV4, can you explain for the record the difference insofar as what Congress will be giving you by way of equity, by way of subsidy, and by way of corporate funds, in terms of use and utilization and whatever other difference there may be between these three classifications? Sir?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, according to the Republic Act that enacted a new charter for People's Television Network, there's a fresh capital infusion by the government of 5 billion pesos.
Remember that.
Of this amount, 2 billion will be sourced from the proceeds of the privatization of the two other government-supervised sequestered private networks, namely IBC, which we have just discussed, and RPN 9. So 3 billion will have to be provided by the government itself. No? And of this amount, we have been informed by the Department of Budget and Management that the allocations that they have made for capital outlay will be charged to the capital account of PTV. And if the reckoning will start in the current budget for 2014, the amount that we have for capital expenditures is 759 million. And in the proposed NEP for 2015, the amount is 892 million. So if this is the concept, then we will have to accumulate these amounts until they reach the amount of 3 billion and then add this to the 2 billion that is hoped to be generated by the privatization of IBC and RPN. So that will be the source of funds for the capitalization of PTV, Mr. Chairman.
No, my question actually, Secretary, is saan ho gagastusin yung pera? I understand what equity means, that you're buying into the authorized capital stock of the newly created company under the law, but exactly where will the money go?
Principally to capital expenditures, Mr. Chairman. As we know, the operations of a television network is very capital intensive, especially considering that there will now be a transition to a new technology, which is the digital terrestrial television. and the government has already decided on adopting the ISDBT
In Japan.
system, which is the Japanese system. And although there are assurances of assistance on a government-to-government basis, we need to be able to generate sufficient revenues to augment the capitalization that's provided by law. By any reckoning, the 5 billion is a small amount of capitalization for a nationwide television network, Your Honor.
Sir, when you say principally for capital equipment, meaning you can use it for, actually my basic question is, will you use it, this equity part, for capital investments, meaning equipment, probably buildings, lands, or will you also use this for MOOE and PS?
Conceptually, Your Honor, the proper utilization will have to be for capital expenditures because these are the durable equipment that will have long-term use and will be able to generate revenues for the station, or for the network. What we would like to be able to do is once we are able to establish the right organization for People's Television, that we can be competitive in our own sphere, no? That we are able to generate sufficient revenues to finance the miscellaneous and other operating expenditures of the network, which we have started to do, Your Honor.
So, is it solely for capital expenditures, or as you said earlier, principally for capital expenditures?
As things stand, Your Honor, it will be solely for capital expenditures.
Now, the item subsidy, 100 million for 2015. Saan po gagastusin to?
Para po sa personal salaries at miscellaneous and other operating expenditures, dahil nagsisimula pa lang po yung network natin na mag-generate ng sariling revenues niya, we are shifting the emphasis of programming to news and public affairs. We have a concept which will make it a weather and news channel. Umpisa na po yan sa pamagitan ng Panahon TV, and we intend to just focus on news and public affairs in keeping with the mandate of the law that has been enacted, Your Honor.
How much is the PS and MOE requirements of the station?
Approximately 22 million a month, Your Honor.
So that's approximately 260?
That is correct, Your Honor.
More? I heard more. More? 260? So the remaining balance of about 160 will be generated from revenues of the station?
That is what we're endeavoring to accomplish, Mr. Chairman.
Out of curiosity, how much did you earn in 2012?
I request the General Manager, Mr.
Please.
Cleo Dongas, to answer, Your Honor.
Jim Dangas, please. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. In 2012, sir, the network was able to generate 124 million, sir.
Good enough. Kapos kayo ng konti. In 2013, do you have it?
In 2013, sir, we were able to generate 137, sir.
First half of 2014?
For the first half of 2014, sir, we were able to generate around 59 million.
60, sir, gearing towards 120 for the year.
At the rate which the things are going, more or less, sir.
So, kulang?
We are trying our best, sir, in the next few months to increase revenue.
Pag kulang, paano pong gagawin nyo?
For the budget year, sir, the government was only able to provide us 100 M, so we have to make do with it, sir. And for the rest, we need to generate it from our operations, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, if I may point out an important consideration. Doon po kasi sa kasalukuyan, ang ating pong sinusustain sa PTV ay yung buong manpower complement, that is about 400. No? At ayon po sa batas, we are required to implement a reorganization of the network. Kaya po merong pagkakataon na isaayos po yung ating organization na naaayon sa batas. Kapag naisagawa po ito, sa labas lang po noong cash outlay for implementing the reorganization, sa amin pong palagay, merong pagkakataon na mailagay sa tamang ayos yung pag-oorganisa ng network, and we'll be able to rationalize our expenses accordingly. So we are in a transition period within which we will have to implement the reorganization. We are awaiting the final decision of the GCG on this, and we have been assured that this will be implementable soon. Following that, we will be relying on the funding support that will be provided by the Department of Budget and Management. According to Secretary Abad, the funding requirement will be sourced from the pension and gratuities fund of the government. So with that opportunity, we'll be able to rationalize our expenditures and use the revenues to be generated in funding the essential requirements of the network, Your Honor.
Thank you. Before I proceed to my last point on these matters, ano naman po yung corporate funds na 275,733? Saan po gagastusin yan? And how is it distinguishable from equity, subsidy? Yung corporate funds po ba galing sa inyo na yan?
Corporate funds were generated by the network from its operations, sir. Actually, that's just the projection, sir, for the budget year.
Medyo malayo yan.
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
As in malayong malayo.
I agree, Your Honor.
You're talking more than double what you're expected to generate.
Yes, Your Honor, because we factored in actually the implementation of the reorganization, and for budget purposes, we have to cover it with possible sources for the budget years.
Can you submit to us, and the same is true for IBC 13, can you submit to us, sir, your corporate budget, just for us to be able to see it?
We will, Your Honor.
Saan pupunta yung pera, saan galing yung pera, at yung balancing pwedeng manggaling sa gobyerno, magkano po ba talaga yan, at magkano yung kailangan?
Yes, Your Honor, we will.
Please, sir. The same is true, Mr. Secretary, for Chairman Avellana?
Mr. Chairman,
yeah. Wala akong J?
Wala
po. Avellana.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to manifest here our appreciation for you and the committee in pointing out the need to augment the resources that are available, because we are undergoing a transitory phase within which we really have to rationalize the expenditures and at the same time meet our contractual obligations to the people involved, and that is very essential, Mr. Chairman.
One last point along those lines, Mr. Secretary. You claimed or said that you had a budget reduction compared to last year of how many percent? 13, if I heard you correctly? Or was it in millions? So I heard you correctly, 13%.
That is correct, Your Honor. The decrease is in the order of 13.47%, or 159 million pesos.
Can
Your
you
Honor.
submit to us, sir, your proposed budget as submitted to the DBM? May we have that figure? How much was that?
We will submit that, Your Honor.
Kindly submit that to us. You did not ask. I was the one who asked, so you will not be violating any AO issued on lobbying. Now, we just want to be able to compare so that in case we can find some fiscal space somewhere in the budget, we would be able to choose certain items in various departments to fund, which ones to fund, which ones not to fund, via prioritization. But at least we would know where it will go if we can see your proposed budgets and which items were slashed, were cut, or removed by the DBM.
We will comply, and we would like to thank you, Your Honor.
Please, sir, kindly do so. There be no other interventions and no other member who registered their desire to make interventions or inquiries on the budget of the PCOO as well as its attached agencies and offices, subject to the submission of documents in compliance with the requests made by the chair, the proposed budget for PCOO and its attached agencies is hereby submitted for approval by plenary for its deliberation and final approval. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, at magandang hapon po.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hearing is suspended.
Army. Yo. Kaya mo yan, Sam. Push mo yan. Sam. Green. Greenery.
It's to pay off the cash advance made by the national government. We've already coordinated with DOF and the Bureau of the Treasury and the repayment of these advances.
Okay. But after payment of the advances, does the income revert to the Treasury, or can you keep it?
It stays with us, but it's all for the interest of the national government. The national government is the sole